What have you done in your professional life?
I have many things in different transitionary stages.
Okay.
And I think that's the life of a man.
Yeah.
You know, a friend was asking me earlier today a similar question, like, so what do you do? And it's difficult. I think a man is trying here and there.
Yeah.
I have some land, I do strawberry, I keep 1,000 chicken, I keep goats.
Right.
And straight off, never done farming before.
For real?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm here with a few pounds that I've saved while I'm working there, and I'm like, well, rather than consume this little money, can I put it into some use?
Right.
So I get into farming, then I land a job a month later. So I go to Kabarak. My farm was in Rongai.
Okay.
So I then leave a caretaker there, but like I'll tell you, never farm from the phone. I visited Tel Aviv University someday, and I tell you, one cow gives 30 liters in the morning and 30 liters in the evening from a desert.
Classmates, good morning. Kofiti, I hope you've been well. Poleni for the short break, but yeah, sometimes landing our guests, we need to take a bit of time so that we have the right guests and the right teachers to come through. And I'm excited about today's class because today we are talking about agribusiness. So that's an interesting conversation. I think it's something that has been everywhere. Green energy, agribusiness. Most importantly, we are still filming at Longonot Place. Nice apartments, check them out kindly. And ukikuja waambie tu litumona feel. Kuna discounts utapata hapo hivyo. Shukran sana. So our lecturer for the day is a gentleman called Elijah Oenga. My friend, I got his bio and his CV. First of all, it's 2 pages long. I thought I'd cram everything. And the most surprising thing, ananiambia, like, that is a very, what's the word? Imepunguza sana. A condensed draft. Because this gentleman has done about everything. And I love such gentlemen because they have so many experiences and they will tell us their journey. So at some point, he has been a consultant in strategy, leadership, communication, branding, and marketing. Currently, you know what? Let's just start this conversation because hata nikianza siwezi soma 2 pages of your CV. Good morning, man.
Good morning.
You're well?
Very well.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like you are going to teach us a lot. First of all, when I received this CV, I thought I'd be meeting a gentleman who is 60 years old. And you're just in your 30s, man, slowly transitioning to your 40s. Yeah, man. First of all, what's pushing you? Why are you doing like 50 things, man? Let's start from here. What have you done in your professional life? Let's start from there.
Yeah, so thank you, Phil.
Okay.
My name is Elijah, as you've said.
Yes.
And it's interesting you call me lecturer because I've been a lecturer at Kabarak University.
Okay. Okay.
So it's interesting to go backwards.
All right.
Yeah, I've lectured leadership there. I've lectured procurement. I've lectured marketing.
All right.
Master's and undergrad classes
Okay.
at Kabarak. So it's good to be in another class. So
All right.
Classmates, we are together
We are
today.
together. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I recently transitioned to 40, and it's interesting to note how many things I've tried. Things that I've tried and failed, things that I've tried and still trying,
Okay.
still either trying and seeming to grasp,
Okay.
and things that I've tried and doing well.
All right.
So I have many things in different transitionary stages,
Okay.
and I think that's the life of a man.
Yeah.
You know, a friend was asking me earlier today a similar question, like, so what do you do? And it's difficult. I think a man is trying here and there.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So I've been a lecturer.
Okay. Let's start from where did you start? So you straight off high school.
Yes.
You go to campus. What
Yes.
do you study?
Wow, that's a long story. So I finish high school.
Yeah.
I go to do my pharmacy.
Pharmacy.
In
Hata
fact,
haiko kwa hii.
haiko hapo.
Yeah.
I first do industrial engineering for 2 years.
Okay.
I'm not interested.
All right.
I start my pharmacy.
Okay.
I do very well.
All
I
right.
pass all my papers.
Okay.
But I'm not interested. That time I'm in India, so I come back to Kenya.
Okay.
go to Baraton and I do management. And I seem to like people and enjoy people. So I do management.
All right.
I finish in the year 2008. I then fly out to the UK.
Okay.
I do my master's
All right.
in strategy and leadership at University of Wales.
All right.
And then I do that for 2 years. Then I work in London as a junior consultant for the NHS for a few years.
All right.
Then I transitioned back to Kenya in the year 2013.
All right.
And I straight land a job at Kabarak University.
Okay.
And I worked there for 4 years.
All right.
And then I head back on my own. I've always wanted to do things on my own.
All right.
So when I leave Kabarak, is then my adventure with farming starts, my adventure with my consultancy starts,
Right.
and all these other things start at that stage.
So you do consultancy for strategy and
Yes.
marketing and branding.
Yes.
And then there's farming there. So
Yes.
talk to us about the farming, which when I requested my producer to get in touch with you,
Yes.
is the conversation I wanted to have, because green energy is something everyone is talking about.
Yes.
Agribusiness, they're saying it's the biggest business right now because the population is growing. We need to feed that population. How did you get yourself into agriculture and agribusiness?
So when I moved back to Kenya, there's a month I'm free. So I have some land. I do strawberry. I keep 1,000 chicken. I keep goats.
Right.
And straight off, never done farming before.
For real?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm here with a few pounds that I've saved while I'm working there. And I'm like, well, rather than consume this little money, can I put it into some use?
Right.
So I get into farming. Then I land a job a month later. So I go to Kabarak. My farm was in Rongai.
Okay.
Okay. So I then leave a caretaker there. But like I'll tell you, never farm from the phone. So that didn't go very well.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I will be farming through phone calls. That wasn't working.
Yeah.
That went down.
Right.
You will think I'll get disappointed. I decide that's around 2015, 2016.
Right.
In 2018, instead of saying I'm closing shop after my goats not doing well, my chicken, I'm laying eggs, but I'm not getting the money.
Right.
My strawberries, they are ripening on the farm.
Yeah.
They are being sold, but I'm not getting the money simply because I'm farming from the phone. I decide to double the effort in 2018. And that's why Ubuntu Eco Farm is then born.
Okay.
I closed shop. I had a smaller farm. I moved to a bigger farm now.
Okay.
And redoubled the efforts.
All right.
This time with me being present. By then I've left Kabarak in 2016. Now I'm doing it almost full time. But I'm still handling other things. So I get into greenhouse farming.
Okay.
I get into fruit farming, so I have an orchard, and then in the greenhouses I do herbs for export.
All right.
So basil, tarragon, chives, mints, rosemary,
Right.
and these mostly go to Europe because we don't seem to consume them in large numbers in Africa. So I get into that business and it picks up well, and I now redouble the effort and I continue on that trajectory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ubuntu Eco Farms.
Yes.
And now, what do you borrow from what you've done before, which is marketing and branding? How did that help when you transitioned to agriculture? Are there aspects of that really helped in this other side? And pharmacy and industrial.
Yes. So even when I do my trainings and because I've worked with a lot of companies in Kenya and in Africa. And I like to tell them, I'm not just a trainer or consultant who speaks from the blue. Many of these things I teach you and I train you, I actually apply them in my day-to-day life. So, for instance, in farming, you have to be a present manager.
Okay.
You have to be a man who loves data and numbers. You need to be able to know what you put in and what you expect to get out. There's a direct correlation. So a lot of people get into farming from excitement. You see someone doing it and you want to run to it. And that's what I did initially. And I burnt my fingers.
Right.
When I did it the second time. I try to do it better, and I'm still learning. I now am very involved. When I put this in, I immediately know what I expect to get out from what I've put in today.
Right.
So I recently bought 10 goats to add to my flock.
Okay.
I already know what I expect from each goat. You know, so you must leave data and use data to run your farm. You know, I have 20 greenhouses now. I need to be able to know what to expect from each greenhouse every 10 days.
Right.
And what I need to put into those greenhouses before I get that output. So you have to be constant, you have to be alive, you have to be present.
You sound like a farmer who uses a lot of data and innovation and tech.
Yes.
You're not relying on the rains from the way.
Yes.
What are some of the innovation tactics you've used when farming? Are there apps, for example? I will be very honest, I've never farmed a day in my life.
Yes.
Mimi ni watu nimezaliwa kwa concrete jungle ya Nairobi.
Yes.
So I'm always just curious, and we keep hearing about climate change and all these things, but you sound like you found a formula.
We keep evolving, but I think anyone who wants to farm now, you must be a climate smart farmer. The rain patterns are so erratic,
right?
And that's why I think the Kenyan economy has been struggling for long. Because remember, Phil, we were educated on the backs of grandmothers and grandfathers who farmed.
That is true.
Whether it's from very small scale. We did coffee in Kiambu, we did tea in Kericho. So the backbone of the Kenyan economy is the farmer.
Yes.
When the farmer is struggling, when the farmer is being pinched, everyone else coughs.
That is true.
The shenanigans we're seeing now around the economy is because we've not found a solid, stable path for the farmer. The day we sought the farmer, the teacher and the doctor and the film producer and the hotelier will smile a little better. So because of the rain patterns that have not been working well for the farmer is struggling. So at my farm, at Ubuntu Eco Farm, I actually use drip irrigation. And every time it rains, I collect as much water. So with 20 greenhouses, you can imagine the surface area is huge. So I collect all that water in a very large underground tank. And then there's also a borehole to supplement. And then you use drip irrigation because you then use that water sparingly. You know, it's drip irrigation is an Israeli technology that's now being used world over. You can imagine Israel, a desert. So they were very keen with the water usage.
Right.
And we get fed. I mean, the rest of the world is getting fed from our desert.
Right.
I visited Tel Aviv University someday, and I tell you, one cow gives 30 liters in the morning and 30 liters in the evening from a desert. So you can see the gaps we have around the farmer, you know, because, and that's why at my farm I try to get it right at a small scale. So that when we get it right, we can then impact this knowledge to the neighbor farmer and the next one and the next one.
Where did we go wrong as a country? Because what you've mentioned is true and sad, but we grew up being told, soma, upas, usikue mkulima. You know, farming was made to look like it's not cool in school. So all of us strived to get educated and to part white collar jobs. But you look like a cool farmer. You know, you're making farming look cool.
That's a fallacy. I think it was a fallacy. Mzee Moi had it right with the 4K club. You know, every school had a shamba and people were growing. And I think we are trying now to go backwards. People didn't want dirt in their hands. Everyone wanted to become a lawyer, a pilot, and a doctor. Shock on you now, Phil. We have doctors stomaching, we have lawyers stomaching, and so many of them. Because the African economy is not a blue collar or white collar economy. The African economy is a very much farmers economy, sport economy, film and production economy. We need to go back to nurture farming, talents, art, music. We should parents especially should dissociate with this affinity for mtoto wangu ni lawyer, but you're still feeding them, you know?
Yeah.
So can we appreciate where our food comes from? It's from the farmer, and the next tranche of billionaires are going to be farmers. I'm very far off from there though. Very, very far.
Mi niko hapa niko na contact ya billionaire to be
we dream. We want to be. And I know the government has a role in coming up with favorable policies around farming and agriculture. We have a role to start consuming African, whether it's food. Right now, if you want to take a chick on a date, she wants pizza. She wants, what are you doing with your mokimo and your githeri? I've been to India, I've been to the UK, and the one thing they get right, Phil, is what we get wrong. They really love what they can produce locally. Whether it's film, Bollywood is the richest. And I tell you, in India, where there is a new film out, everyone is out.
My goodness,
the theaters are full.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. So we must stop our affinity with everything imported.
Right.
I think it's time we appreciate African food, we appreciate African music, African film, and that is where we will grow. But right now, we want to eat pizza, we want to dress Italian, we want to
drive German,
and still hope somehow miraculously that we feed the nation. If you go to the UK, there is a section in the supermarket called British. It's always empty. British pork, British beef, British this, British corn, British. They first consume that. And when it's over, then they can try everything else. You know, it's not to say we have a closed economy, but I feel like we need to really love what we produce. You know, whether it's fashion, look at Nigeria and look at India again. They really appreciate, and I can tell you the number of billionaires and millionaire tailors, you know. But look at us.
Fundi
tailor. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear a farmer. But that's where we get it wrong. And that's where, when there is just an advert for 10 KDF, 30,000 short.
Because we were taught to go look for jobs instead of creating.
It was a false economy. We are building on sand. We are not building on our foundation. Our foundation is agriculture. Our foundation is sports. Look at Diego. Just goes on YouTube, teaches himself to. Look at Serena Williams. They say she's the best tennis player. I say, wait a minute. There is a Nekesa somewhere who's never tried that racket. The day she holds it, that ball will go from Kakamega to Busia. So they've tried these things in their world. But here, we really are focusing on the wrong curriculum.
That is.
You know?
That is so true.
We want doctors to where? To the streets. You know? Let's go back to the farms. Let's go back to creativity. Let's go back to sports. Let's take a pause and go backwards. And I really wish I had ended up in Parliament, because Phil, I had 10 bills already to try and say, wait a minute, could we readjust the focus of this economy?
Let's talk about that, because so far, Mtiango, I think we are just a quarter way through the bio and the CV. So he has just mentioned politics. And in the last election, you did try to run for Member of Parliament?
Yes, Dagoretti North. Yes.
How was that? And what made you even jump into politics? Ulitoka farming ukaamua sasa wacha niingie mambo ya siasa.
You see, as a man, as you age, you start becoming very idealistic. You are like, what can I do? How can we change the world? Remember, in primary school, Molo Academy, I was a student president. In high school, I was a student president. In uni, I was a student president. So I've always had this leadership for elevating conversations. So we wrongly thought that we could get a chance. It was a misadventure, I say, but one that I enjoyed. I enjoyed conversing with Mama Mboga. I enjoyed conversing with the youths. And one thing I came to conclude, Africa is not poor because we lack resources.
No.
We have the best minds. We have the best talents. I think the missing link has been the leadership and how we put all these talents together and weave a nation. Okay? A nation is woven when talent and opportunity is given a chance.
Right.
But our very basics are wrong. The farmer is not being given a chance. Sometimes not the right seeds. Sometimes there are no laws around collection of water, solar and renewable energy, where we should really be focusing on. Could we say that every home being built has a water collection point so that when it's dry, bro, we then have the water collected? Okay, maybe zero rate taxes on tanks.
Right.
So we need to start coming up with laws that are really thought out and that benefit the people. So as I misadventure into politics, I'm very ambitious, thinking I'm going in with a bill around farming, with a bill around creativity, and I had written some of these things down.
Right.
Because sometimes some of us are very adamant that when you go into something, I saw myself already as an MP. Even as when campaigning, I spoke already as one.
As one, yeah.
So I was second. And I appreciate that they allowed someone else a chance.
Okay.
And I hope and pray that she can execute the mandate well.
Right.
But yes, maybe I now will offer leadership in a different trajectory. I don't think I will ever go back into politics. It's very taxing. It's very.
You call it misadventure?
Yes.
Do you regret it?
I regret certain aspects of it. It rinsed my soul. It's hard work.
Okay.
It shouldn't be that hard because I've been in the UK when they have an election, and all I saw was 1 or 2 billboards and an MP knock at my door and have a one-to-one conversation. He's actually your servant.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when we have kings as politicians, the nation suffers.
Right.
Because the electorate serve the politicians. We buy them cars, we buy them this. So we are suffering because of our choices that are not made in the right way. In Europe, politicians serve, genuinely serve. And when they have a misstep, they resign and someone else has that opportunity. We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
That's why, again, my pet subject, the farmer is struggling. Because the people in parliament really don't understand the genuine concern of the farmer. So they cannot address it conclusively.
Right.
They will address it now and again, or we'll give you cheap fertilizer. Is that the end of the story?
No.
It's a supply chain.
Yeah.
There's issues to do with training, seeds. There's issue to do with water and irrigation systems.
Right.
The issue to do with market and structuring the market, both local and international. And now, Phil, you see why everything I do is almost, it might look diverse, but it's linked. Even the politics is linked to everything else that I do.
Right.
So it was in this, manly ambition that let me go in and change some of these things.
All right.
I smile now, but yeah.
So that was your misadventure, as you call it, with politics. You also co-own a leather company, or you own first of all, how many companies do you own, or are you, a partner in?
Wow, 5 that are running, but of course, others. So I have SPRC Limited, which is my main firm. I use that for consultancy and training. So I'm a trainer. I work with Amref, L'Oreal, so many other companies in helping them to come up with strategy and strategic plans.
Right.
So I also did run a school called Heaven Cottage for special needs persons.
Interesting.
That is a totally different conversation. Because I have an adopted son who's autistic.
Okay.
He's 17. So because of that, I set out Heaven Cottage
All right.
for special needs persons.
Right.
I then have Ubuntu Eco Farms that now does the farming.
All right.
I have Harvester that does value addition. I package food. I package honey, I package peanut, I package flour,
Right.
and then I distribute and looking for an export market
Wow.
at a very advanced stage.
Right.
Looking towards packaging coffee
Yeah.
soon. And then I have what is called Image Plus consultancy. So now this one I do branding for companies.
Okay.
And then which one haven't I? Kobe Crafts, which now does leather. These shoes I'm wearing, I made them myself.
All right. Yeah, utapata kiatu.
Yeah.
Acha
So
tuone.
we make leather bags and and this also was born out of some of the special needs persons don't have a chance in mainstream. So the idea was before Corona,
Yeah.
get them into skills. So music, leather,
Right.
hospitality. So I was working with special needs person in some of these skills because the mainstream corporate sometimes forgets that we have special needs person with us.
Is this the world we're in now, where you can't just specialize and do only one thing? Because I'm increasingly finding that people are venturing and doing a lot of things at the same time. And we were schooled in a generation where we were told, study this, become a lawyer, become an engineer, just stick to that one thing, achieve success in that one thing. But of late, I think everyone does everything.
Yeah.
Is this the world we live in? Is this the world our children we need to prepare them for?
With this, it depends on your school of thought. So my school of thought is a man. And when I say man, I mean all genders.
Yeah.
We, the people, we are multidimensional.
Yeah.
We are not linear. Okay? So when I'm boxed into this lane and just that lane, for instance, I have an uncle who worked in the same company as an intern, worked there until he became CEO.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe I'll introduce you to him. Maybe that's he needs to sit here at some point.
Yeah.
And did one thing all his life.
Right.
That's a different school of thought. But for me, I have many interests and many passions that some remain as that, but some transition into a venture. And for me, mostly my motivation when I start a business, and I know a lot of people say this motivational quotes, I don't do it for money. So for me, genuinely, I don't look at the money because like Kobe Crafts was purely born as where can I engage with these special needs persons in a way that uplifts them. All right. If you look, for instance, I forgot Education Network. I publish a magazine that's called Education Network.
We are on company number 7. Okay.
Yeah. And so when you look at these things, they look diverse, but they're very related. For instance, that one, I'm very passionate about careers and young people, what careers they're getting into. I'm not a person who's very keen on these linear thoughts. Let's all be lawyers. Let's all. So using some of these platforms is to work with young people wherever they are with their talents. And for instance, sometimes I meet young people and they really have a good idea. And I say, do you know what? Let's do it. How do we do it? All right. So when I come here next, maybe the list will be 20, because when I listen to Phil and there's something I can do on his journey and with him, I then come with him and we walk together.
All right.
So I feel like man is multidimensional and we have many different skills and experiences to offer. And I feel like do small things, but do them well, and do them consistently and nurture them. And over time, the mustard seed that you sowed yesterday, it might not benefit you, but the person you employed there, or you worked with there, really appreciates. And because of that opportunity, they go on and do something better even than you. Okay?
Wow.
So I'm very keen on people trying to help other people. If it means you open a farm somewhere, if you have the opportunity and capacity, that you can do well, make some profit, but employ 5 or 6 people. Because the biggest issue now field is unemployment, if we are honest.
Of course.
If we are honest.
Yeah.
It's unemployment.
Yeah.
So instead of our politicians and rich people taking money and putting apartments, which is just a caretaker. We need industries in Africa. Take that money, set up an industry, employ 1,000 people. You've really transformed 1,000 families when you do that.
That is true.
But when you go and set up an apartment just like the other one, okay, you collect rent, and then so what? What's your legacy? You've seen billionaires die in this country, and they have no legacy.
True.
You have nothing to say. I wouldn't mention names.
Yeah.
You have nothing to say 2 years on, but I have a long list, Phil. They didn't build people. They have no legacy. If you don't build people, you have no legacy. So that's why I enjoy farming, because it builds people. You nurture people, and someone can go and actually start with 10 chickens and grow it slowly and see the work of their hands.
Man, I am just curious to know what set you on such a path. What was your childhood like? What did you grow up seeing at home in family setup? Were your parents entrepreneurial? Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm always curious. The leadership thing, was it instilled when you were a child?
Yeah. So my father is a leader.
Okay.
My father is a leader. Recently, I went to Magadi, and I was just driving, and I met 2 young people, and I gave them a lift because it was very hot.
Yeah.
I love going to look for land, and so I was in Magadi to just explore. And I carried these 2 people, and one of them, we chat, and I'm like, by the way, you live nearby, let's go to your place. So we go there, and miraculously, the father was employed by my father.
Oh, wow.
This is 3 weeks ago. And the father said, your father nurtured me and gave me an opportunity. Coincidence out of nowhere.
Right.
So I feel like this is my father's legacy. He's really nurtured people. He did work. He was an engineer, a civil engineer. But wherever he's been, he's really nurtured people. In church, he's built so many churches. I remember in high school, a bus full from Isiolo coming to our gate, and we opened the gate. It's a surprise. And they come to thank my dad because he helped them build a church. And they didn't even know they were coming. So you can see the measure of a man I cannot even attempt to fit in his shoes.
Right.
Even right now as we speak, he's still trying to build another church and another school. So he's a man who, from a very early age, when I opened my eyes, I found him building people,
Yeah.
So when we have conversations, he asks me, don't you think with my little salary, I could have built a skyscraper? But I chose to build people. So if you look behind me, I have an army of people, whether family, whether church, whether schools, that I've built. And I think that's something I would like said about me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it as well, but maybe at some point. So yes, he's a leader, and before him, I don't even talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. What are your daily practices like? Because managing and running 7 companies at the same time, then you must manage your time very well. So I'm curious, how do you block your time? How do you manage your time? How do you set your calendar to manage all these companies? Honestly,
that's one area I fail. I know many managers and many CEOs are very good with their time, and they wake up at 4 and they do this. For me, I'm a human.
Okay.
Every day, some days I wake up at 5, some days I wake up at 9. I have no particular structure. But when I get to sit down and talk strategy, we work through it. Okay. So I maximize the moments I get. If I sit down with my farm manager and we make a 2-week plan, I keep my end of the bargain, he keeps the end of the bargain, and we review it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm good at maximizing time and efficient strategy. Because for me, what's strategy? It's me using my dollar better than you. Okay?
Yeah.
If I can stretch my dollar to do 10 things while you use your dollar for 2 things, that's strategy. Okay? If I can use 10 minutes to manage 5 people efficiently and you use 5 hours, I think I have a better strategy. So strategy is using less for more. Okay. So I enjoy my sleep. Where I think I thrive a little more is I have a very strategic mindset, and I really can, in a session, pack in a lot that can stretch us a little longer.
Wow. So that is you know, as a man, managing your time when it comes to running the business. You mentioned a son. You're a family man. So how is that? How is that balance? You know, you have a family, you have all these things you're doing. Because I think one of the saddest things I had, I don't know if this quote is true, but I read it somewhere. One of Mandela's children was being interviewed, and he just said, for me it was a very sad quote, he said, Nelson Mandela might be a hero to the world, but to us we don't see him that way, because he was there saving the world, but he was never there for us, you know. And for you, you're out there building people, then how do you create time to build your own people, your own family?
Yes, that's you have to be very decisive on that one.
Yeah.
The family dynamics have changed.
Yeah.
It's not now like it was before.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, when I was in Molo Academy, my father never missed my birthday. In fact, there was a joke in school that if my father hasn't arrived, and these are school for 800 students and above, but my father was almost always the first one to arrive.
Wow.
Okay?
That was a present man. You know.
It was a present man. I'm not doing as well as him again. In every measure, I fall short. Because the dynamics now around relationships are different. But what I've decided to do is that almost every weekend, I spend with my kids at the farm. And I teach them to nurture animals, to nurture plants. So I try to involve them as much as possible within what I do. And I'm really trying to get them to like what I do early. Because when I was in India, I noticed that the Indians nurture their kids very early into what they do.
Yeah.
So that by the time they retire, they have the next generation taking over. But feel you've retired from this, your son is doing something totally different. They're not aligned. So your legacy ends out there.
Yeah.
Everything you've done is sealed there. So I'm trying, while they can enjoy their different pursuits, I would really love for them to especially enjoy the farming aspect, you know, and the environmental aspect. Because the farm now runs a CSR project called Ubuntu Green Africa, where we are trying to green
Company number 8.
one village at a time.
Yeah.
So we go to schools and plant trees. We go to schools and give them conservation education. Because if you come to my farm, it was in an arid space, totally dry, sweaty, arid, thorny. But we've transformed it now. We are settling in a mini forest.
Okay.
Yeah. So that transformation has been a long time coming. And those lessons should not just disappear on my farm. I feel like we can nurture that conversation around the schools, around the homes. It's not good to just have one oasis. Can we create a little more? So I'm expending a lot of my time, and that's why now I involve my children. I really want them to start enjoying conservation with me.
Right.
So on that part of the CSR, I get them along with me so that hopefully when they're 18, they can say, you know what, of all the things Dad did, we like this too, and we would like to continue that legacy. Go to Gilanis, go to Sarit, go to whichever Indian business you see, it might be here 100 years to come.
That is true.
The Kenyan businesses you see, shock on you, with the burial, it's a
That-
fight on the paper, and that business is buried and gone. So we need to do a little more education. You say today I'm a teacher. So
Yes,
we need to
please.
do a little more education around transition, around succession planning
Right.
in what we do. And
Absolutely.
that's where I think in our African culture we fail. Mzee anaficha title, anaficha masiri,
Ukweli.
you know.
Yeah.
By the time he's normal, his ideas are normal.
True.
You know, my grandfather should have written a book. I will sit with him under a fire, and the wealth of information that he had, you know.
Wow.
And that's why they say when you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book. I feel there is a lot more we can talk about.
Yeah,
Phil.
yeah.
Maybe we are scratching the surface today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've mentioned legacy several times. I've picked that up. Why is legacy important to you? Why should legacy be important to a man? Because I mean, you'll be dead and long gone. Why is your legacy so important?
I think the balance sheet of life, when life is boiled down, you see, when you boil water, you get vapor. What do you get when you boil life down? When all is stripped out, when our masks are stripped. And what is life? Life is your legacy, what you leave. If you left trees, that's your legacy. If you left commercial, that's your legacy. So if you look, you mentioned Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
I think if you continue in that line of thought, you'll mention Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
and Abraham Lincoln and Isaac Newton.
Yeah.
These and Maya Angelou. These are men and women who we don't know much about their balance sheet or their business acumen, but they built people, they nurtured lives. And I think that's legacy. And for those of us who read the good book now and again, I feel like the sum of life is not in self, but in the little things that you can do for your neighbor. That's why all the laws are summed up into love thy neighbor as you love thyself. What does that mean? That means legacy. What do you leave behind when you are no longer here, when you're no longer sat on that seat? What is left behind? Okay, so that's why for me legacy is so critical. I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. I would love to leave 10 million trees, so I'm working on that. I would love to leave young men who can be dependable on society. I'm working on that. I would love to live a good country. That's why I was venturing into politics. I don't know how I will get an opportunity, but I feel like I have conversations for the country and how we can do better. So I love to live a better country. So in every facet of my life, I have an ambition and a desire to leave it a little better than I found it, you know. So as a man, I feel like legacy is God-given. God places in you, and I can preach, though I'm not preaching today. I think a man, part of what your children inherit is your legacy. I think from my father, I'll inherit a legacy.
Right.
I'm not sure I'm doing well enough to bequeath that to the next generation. I'm not so sure.
No, sir. Trust me, you're doing a lot. You're doing well. So I'll just quickly go back to agriculture and the green energy space. So currently, that's the only thing being talked about. Let's go green, climate change. Is this thing genuine, or people are going there for the money? Because now I know all the funders and all the money is in that space. Is this because we hear? I know rain patterns have changed. I know we're being told food security is a problem. But if I drive right now from Nairobi, whichever direction I take from Nairobi, I see vast lands, lands that are not being utilized. So do we genuinely have a problem? Or are we all now talking about solar energy, green energy, and climate change because that's where the money is at?
There are different schools of thought to that. There are the Donald Trumps who feel like it's an agenda that is being fueled by, business people who want certain ends and certain narratives. And there are those who are extremists who then say, the global warming, the ozone layer is depleted and it's catastrophic. I tend to be in the middle.
Okay.
Not an alarmist and not an extremist. I tend to be in the middle where it's true our rivers are drying.
Yeah.
If you do a stock take, the rivers you used to enjoy as children, where we used to swim, if you go back, they are drying up.
That is true.
They are normal. Our practices, people have cut down trees to build houses.
That is true.
So I like to look at this from the factual side of things, not from the extreme ends of alarmist or extremist. It is also factual that the rain patterns have changed.
Yeah.
It is also factual that it's getting hotter and hotter year on.
Yeah.
So where do we then come in as someone who's just in the middle, who wants to do what is right? Number two, also our consumption patterns have changed. The laptop you're using, the phones you're using, the cars you're using, they're dependent on cobalt and lithium, which fuel unhealthy mining practices in areas like Congo and the Guinea and other areas. And these do affect climate change.
Right.
So our consumerism as a global population has fueled so much. Even these clothes we wear, in the past, people had 2-3 clothes or a skin and they were fine. Right now, our wardrobes are full.
True.
And these clothes end up in a landmine. So the way we are consuming everything from technology to clothes to food, I think there was a study done in the US. Almost 22% of the food that is bought in supermarkets ends up in alignment as fresh food, not the one that is eaten and thrown away. So there are people who buy too much and then throw it straight into a landfill. So we need to retrace our steps and go back to loving your neighbors, you love yourself. So at Ubuntu Green Africa, we try to say, keep your clean street. Keep your street clean. Sorry. Yeah. Keep your farm clean. Keep your home clean. If we all did that, then we start addressing some of these issues. Right now, El Nino is coming, they say.
Yeah.
And I think our government is trying to clean up, but should that be done just because El Nino is coming?
No.
Is cleanliness something that is an event?
Nope.
It should be our way of life. Go to Rwanda. In 2008, I tried to enter Rwanda. I had packed my shoes in plastic bags. I was given khaki bags and my 2008. So I feel like we are a little late to this conversation, and keeping our homes and streets clean is not a global conversation. There are some of these things that we should inculcate in our schools early enough around saying, pick litter whenever you see it.
True.
Okay? Don't throw litter in gullies and, if you own a business, can you make sure within 100 meters of your business, it's clean? If we did that, even our health issues will reduce.
Oh, that is true.
All these things are interlinked. So for me, I don't want to rush to COP28, the big conversation, climate change, and it happens, and they spend a lot of money, and they spend jets to get there, which are
private
carbon polluters. Elon Musk funds, but he has a private jet that pollutes more than he funds. So there are those conversations, and I find a lot of pretentiousness at that level. For me, I like to boil it down and bring it low. Small things. Can we as a nation, for instance, say, we can't just have a market sprouting on the roadside.
True.
We can't have bars next to schools. this conversation can then come up with a culture where we value clean and green environments. First for us, ourselves as a people. If then it means because we plant trees, we earn carbon credits and earn money, that becomes a secondary conversation. But it's the biggest conversation right now. Green energy and carbon credits.
Right.
It's a huge topic. I'm not sure you want us to delve into it.
It's a whole conversation. You're a man who's been on so many journeys, starting some failed. What's the story? What's the journey you have failed spectacularly? Because on this channel, we have conversations about people's journey to success. And I know in everyone's journey to success, there are those things you tried as inakuramba, unajua, inakutandika, you fail. What are some of the challenges, the failures you've experienced in your life? Could be financial, could be,
I have experienced many failures.
Right.
As I have experienced many successes. And I find that balance in life very key. And I think before I answer you, I like to say the true measure of a man is not just how you handle success, it's how you handle failure.
True.
If you don't get moved by either, you are stable. You are at an equilibrium. And I feel like it's important to have equilibrium. There are people who don't know how to handle success. You succeed and it consumes you. And there are those who don't know how to handle failure. You fail and it consumes you. I feel like my political journey, so previous to that I've had many failures. But my political journey was one where I succeeded 90%, I failed 10%. The conversations I had feel, wow, I will never, there's no money I'll pay to go to that school. I have been to Vichorochoro in Kawangware, everywhere. I think poverty is a word, but I've seen poverty. When it's tangible in your eyes, I have actually seen poverty. I know how it looks. I know its face. I know its stomach because it's empty. I saw poverty. And now I don't know how to define poverty with the Oxford Dictionary. I define it with my visual. I've seen it. So misadventure, yes, but a school that I would love for everybody to go through. If politicians genuinely engaged with poverty in its raw sense and form, they will do better for this country. So I niliteleza, and I say I succeeded 90% because I think I can write a book, and I will write a book. And the book will be a positive book.
Right.
Because at the worst, I saw the most positive people. And I've come to conclude the biggest talents reside in our slums. In Runda, we have pancakes and sausages. In Kawangware and Kibera and Mathare, we have talent. That's where it all is pieced together. And I'm not saying this lightly. The sporting talent, the conversations I have in Kawangware, in Gatina, are not conversations I can have in Runda. They won't sustain. They don't know that life. So it's good to go to Brookhouse and go to Peponi and go to these other good schools. But the school of life, oh man, it teaches you differently.
Wow.
It's raw lessons. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that's a conversation. If we get into a gate, we'll spend another 2 hours here. Because we all work so hard. Because none of us wants their kids to grow up in that situation. Do we take away from our kids when we take them to these good schools? Because as you're saying, school of life is school of life. Nothing teaches you better than that. But I can't be here breaking my back so that and I don't give my child the best.
And you notice I keep going back to a keyword, balance, equilibrium.
Yeah.
So I have interacted with kids who went to St. Andrew's Story. And my goodness, they don't exist in Africa. Their conversations are hot air. is what Martha Koome should have called hotel. I mean, they exist in a utopian world, but the conversations I have in Kawangware could change the world. They actually understand how life should work. I wish these two people could meet now and again and share their world and create an equilibrium. Because one end has too much, the other end has nothing. And that's not the ideal world. So I feel like there should be sessions where these young minds get to interact. Something beautiful will come out of that.
Okay.
So even for me, for my children, yes, I would love for them to go to good schools, but I try to take them to average. I would like for the real essence of life to come through, to seep through.
Right.
It humbles them enough to share bread when they find it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your stranger than fiction story? That thing that happened in your life, you're like, hiyo nikiambia watu wataamini.
Wow. So my educational journey, I told you,
Yeah.
I tried engineering.
Yeah.
I failed. Then I did pharmacy. I did well, but I didn't enjoy it. So because I finished high school early at 17, so I was very young and rambunctious is the word. I was unsettled, and I tried this and that, and that part of my life was very, you know, the opposite of equilibrium is disequilibrium. When you lack a center of gravity, you've seen those buses that go
on the side.
on the side. But when you see it, it's coming, but it looks like it's going on the side. That's what happens when a man lacks equilibrium. You veer off, yet you should be. Yeah, so I've veered off severally, and I've struggled with so many challenges here and there. But the true measure of a man again is how you rise up when you fall. Yeah, so. And even now, some businesses are struggling, some are doing well. So it's a balance. This feeds this, you know. Some staff who don't do well, maybe they steal from you. And so it's, with everything else, it's balance.
Right.
And balance gives birth to contentment. And there's nothing more powerful to have as a businessman, as a farmer, as a father, like contentment. It stabilizes you. It gives you peace even when there's a storm. So even when the businesses are struggling, it gives you peace. I remember, and I learned a lot of these things from my father again. So I remember doing very well in school and taking a report card, and the one who didn't do so well, he reacted the same and bought us the same gift. You know, if he bought me shoes for being number one, the one who didn't do well got shoes. As a child, I'm like, wow, what's that? But I feel like that's life. You know, success is not what defines us. Failure is not what defines us. In the middle here is life. So let's live life. Whether you're making profits or losses, find a better way to grow, but don't beat yourself that I've made a loss and spend your life there. Just like relationships, you know, I've struggled in that area again, you know. So my life, I try to get equilibrium because it gives me contentment, and contentment is the father of peace.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's live life.
Yeah, let's live life.
Let's live life.
As it comes. Fall.
Yeah, it's a wave.
Know,
it's a.
Sometimes you have a million, the next day you have Fuliza.
Yeah.
That's life.
That's life.
Yeah. So we've pushing so many young men on Instagram to try showcase that. And that's why I love this conversation. That's why I chose to come. I've been invited to some conversation that I say no, because they are highlighting a mask.
Right.
Let's unmask ourselves. The younger generation learn better when we are more real. Let's not paint this Superman image that I've got it all together. When, bro, we know you're struggling like me. You have Fuliza like me. Some days you have it, some days you don't.
Yeah.
And So a lot of our young people and our young girls and boys are pursuing a certain mindset, which is catastrophic at the end. So they don't know how to address failure because all they see on Instagram is, hey, look at me. I'm now in Dubai. Tomorrow I'm here. Next day I'm here. Is that the truth? Could be, but let's be real. Let's balance.
Is that your mantra? Is that your mantra every day?
Yes, let's balance.
Let's balance and let's.
Today tukule kibanda. If kesho iko ya Kempinski, balance it.
Kabisa. Leo tukule kibanda, kesho tukule Kempinski, and that's life. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, the initials for your name, Elijah Oenga. Oenga, sorry, is ego. Yeah, the man with a big ego. You said you've tried taming it.
I tame it.
You tame it. No.
But it's healthy.
It's a healthy
ego. It's healthy for a man to have an ego.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and for this conversation. Yes. And, I know people will pick up a lot of things. On the description on YouTube, we'll have links to all your companies. So in case someone wants to reach out to you, they can do that. And man, again, thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for elevating these conversations.
Yeah.
They are so needed.
Thank you.
And staying at the game.
Right.
Doing a great job. You might not see it, but those of us who sit from the outside, we know how much there is a deficit of these conversations.
Right.
The algorithms we are getting in Africa is for very weak content. And it's designed that way so that we dampen our minds. We're getting algorithms around. Such conversations need to be elevated.
Right.
And you are playing a key role. If me as a farmer, I play my role in elevating that, you do this, the cameraman elevates, the sound guy, we'll find that we're building and weaving a nation. Wow. So thank you also for what you do and for the team that works with you to do this.
Absolutely. Amazing. Classmates, that's all for class today. But again, thank you. Keep subscribing. Kama uja subscribe mtu yangu, subscribe tafadhali bana. Subscribe. Spike tuambie wa subscribe. And we're still filming at Longonot Place. Beautiful, amazing apartments. Come check them out if you need a staycation anytime, any day. I would love to sincerely thank my crew. Today's a Saturday. We're filming this episode on a Saturday. And they had just come from a 24-hour shoot. So hata wajalala. So I'd like to thank my producer, Salimo, my manager, Mukami. On the cameras, we have Spikes at 44 and Aizo, Katule. On sound today, we have Zafrik. Thank you so much for coming through. Editing, we have Sledge. Nani mwingine nimesahau? Yes, styling. Rajab Karume ndo amenistyle hapa hivi, amenipigisha luku, but Masi Wardrobe helps with the styling, but I get the looks from Rajab. Check him out. Very beautiful shop and amazing stuff for men. Kuna mtu nimesahau? Ati? Nani? Yes, today kuna assistant amekuja kututembelea anaitwa Dolly. Tumemuiba from team wa Kurugenzi. But thanks guys, man. I don't take it for granted. Hamjalala na mko hapa mnashoot. Thank you so much. Aya, tuonane next lesson.